For students of all ages, Side 1. Although learning is an essential process that everybody goes through, it's surprising and unfortunate that useful learning techniques are seldom taught in school. If you're familiar with the supermemory course, then you know that any process you might use to improve your memory is known as a mnemonic technique. Students who've been lucky enough to know these techniques have used them to improve their performance throughout their school career. This course is designed to share mnemonic techniques which will allow you to become a successful student. It will teach you how to retain the information you've learned for a longer period of time and how to use your time more efficiently. Let's begin by discussing what exactly makes a good student. To be a good student, it's important that you have good listening skills. If you attend the lecture but don't listen to the speaker, it's obvious you won't learn anything. You must not only hear the speaker, but you must listen closely to what he's saying. Listening requires your full concentration. Did you know that your brain can process information at about 4 times the rate of a lecture speaker? This is why it's so difficult to keep your mind concentrated on the lecture. Several seconds may pass between important points, and you can't expect your mind to go blank during this interval. Unless you make use of the empty period, your mind will begin to wander. There are productive steps you can take which will help you make use of your wandering mind. This course will provide you with the necessary steps you must take to improve your listening and concentration skills. In order to really concentrate on what's being said, it is important that you keep your mind active. When you listen to a speaker, your mind has too much free time, and you begin to think about irrelevant thoughts. The trick is to keep your mind occupied during this free time with thoughts that are related directly to the lecture. There are many techniques you can use to keep your mind active and on the same wavelength as the speaker. Here are 7 techniques that will help you concentrate and better remember the lecture. 1. Clarify and think of examples. 2. Anticipate. 3. Ask questions. 4. Summarize. 5. Criticize. 6. Take written notes. And 7. Make mental notes. The first step suggested you clarify and think of examples. This principle involves taking the new information you receive from the speaker and relating it to knowledge you already possess. A good listener merges his thoughts with the information he's just received. You can do this by clarifying what the speaker has just said. Put it into your own words so you are sure to understand. After clarifying the information, come up with some of your own examples to back it up. Using your own examples will help you enforce the speaker's point. Clarifying and thinking of examples will also help you understand and retain new concepts because you help to formulate them in your own mind. The next technique is to anticipate. A good listener will often try to anticipate the speaker's next point. This will keep your mind occupied with thoughts related to the lecture until the next important point is made. The third technique suggested asking questions. Once again, you can keep your mind occupied with related information and organize your thoughts by forming questions in your mind. The experience of asking a question and receiving an answer makes the discussion more personal to you and will allow you to remember the information more clearly. The fourth step is to summarize. By summarizing the speaker's main points in your own words, it becomes more personal and the main concept is reinforced in your mind. This will help you keep track of the speaker's ideas, and you'll be able to remember the main points better as you review them. Another technique is to criticize. Now, I'm not suggesting you sit back and make fun of the speaker's personal characteristics. I'm suggesting you sit back and listen closely to the lecture and form your own opinion of his presentation. Decide whether you agree or disagree with his ideas and why. Step 6 suggested taking written notes. Notes help you to concentrate during a lecture and allow you to recall facts later, but it's important that you use the proper techniques when taking written notes. If you try to record the speaker's every word, it's more than likely you will miss important points or lose the context of some information. When taking notes, listen for the main ideas and a few supporting details. Be sure to isolate the main ideas from supporting ideas. You should develop your own distinctive pattern for taking notes and stick with the pattern that works best for you. The last step suggested taking mental notes. Few people realize you can take mental notes using mnemonic techniques. But mental notes will help you concentrate and focus your attention on the lecture. They will also help reinforce the lecture in your mind so you can remember it better. With practice, you'll be able to take mental notes faster than written ones, and regular reviewing will help you remember the information longer. Until you become familiar with mental note-taking, it'll be necessary to combine mental and written notes. If you listen closely to the lesson on memorizing speeches, you will notice that taking mental notes is much the same. To take mental notes, you must lock on key points with either link or loci system. As the speaker presents the main points, link them together or to your loci. This takes practice, but the more you practice, the easier it should become. When you can easily link the main points together, try adding minor details. Once you use mnemonics to take mental notes of the lecture, it's important that you review those points periodically. If you remember to review them, they will easily be retrieved during tests or reviews. These 7 techniques will help you listen and concentrate more effectively during lectures. But once you leave the classroom or lecture, it's important that you also have effective study skills. Learning a few basic study skills will enable you to maximize your memory effort. These basic skills, combined with mnemonic techniques, will help you improve your test scores, and that alone should excite you about learning these techniques. First, let's discuss 3 effective study skills you might incorporate into your studying. The first suggestion is to minimize interference. Interference is anything that affects your concentration, such as your favorite TV show, loud music, or someone talking on the phone. To minimize interference, make sure your surroundings are not congested with people and activities. Also, make sure you study subjects individually, so you're not jumping from one concept to another. The next important study skill you should learn is not to cram. Cramming is not an effective way to study for tests. Study time is much more productive if you space it over a number of days. Study a few concepts or chapters each day, and then review all this information just before the test. The third study skill is to make the most of your study time. There are several different study systems which teach you how to learn more in less time. One such system is the SQR3 study method. We will discuss a brief explanation of this method. You can use this system or your own adaptation to help you get the most from your study time. The SQR3 method includes 5 steps: survey, question, read, recite, and review. When applying the SQR3 method to a textbook chapter, the first step is to survey the chapter. Survey by reading the chapter headings, subheadings, charts, figures, and summaries. Examine the chapter's topics and try to get a basic concept of what the chapter is all about. After surveying the chapter, next step is to question. As you surveyed the chapter, was there anything that prompted a question? If so, write it down. The next step is the first of the 3 R's. That's right, it is now time to read the chapter. Don't take notes, just read the entire chapter and answer any questions you may have. After reading the chapter, go on to the second R, recite. Recitation includes rereading sections of the chapter and asking yourself questions to reinforce their points. The third R and last step is to review. This should take only a few minutes. Go through the chapter again and take down notes on things you remember and things you don't. This will help you see which areas you need to work on. If you review the chapter periodically, you should not have to read the chapter before a test. Study skills are as important as listening and concentrating skills. So remember the 3 basic principles for studying that we just went over. Minimize interference, do not cram, and make the most of your study time. Turn the tape over now, and we'll learn how to apply mnemonic techniques for individual courses. For students of all ages, Side 2. These concepts are important steps in the learning process. Well, let's begin discussing mnemonic techniques which can be applied to basic school subjects. All students must take a history course at some time during their academic career. This class tends to be filled with dates, places, events, and people. All these abstract ideas make memorizing difficult, and passing this class seems impossible. But by using mnemonic applications, these obscure facts become more tangible and memorable. Rhyming is one such mnemonic device. I'm sure you're familiar with the verse, "In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue." This rhyme helps school children remember the date Columbus discovered America. Be creative and come up with your own rhymes. Remember, the more ridiculous they are, the easier they will be to remember. Another idea is to memorize past U.S. presidents in order by using the linking system and homophones to record each name in your mind. Remembering dates can be easy using the supermemory system or the PEG system we learned earlier. For remembering the date Columbus discovered America, you could use the supermemory system. In this system, mother would represent 14 and tattoo would represent 92. By linking Columbus to mother and tattoo, this date is easily remembered. You can apply the same technique to any date you might need to remember. Mnemonics also comes in handy when you're trying to remember numbers, perhaps for your mathematics course. Multiplication tables are a good example of mathematics that require a lot of memorization. Many children struggle with multiplication tables not because they cannot understand the principles, but because they fail to commit them to memory. Memorization is the only way to remember multiplication tables, and for children who have a difficult time with memorization, mnemonics can make this process a bit easier. An example might be 9 times 7 equals 72. Using the supermemory system, you would link robot, representing 9, cowbell representing 7, and test tube representing 72. Or you might prefer the PEG system, which works in a similar way. Decide which works best for you and use it to memorize multiplication tables, formulas, and values such as pi. Another subject which requires a lot of memorization is the study of science. You should experiment with the different mnemonic techniques you've learned and find one that will be best for your task. For example, in order to memorize the properties of minerals, you can make up a sentence where each word begins with the same first letter of each property. Acronyms are another mnemonic tool which will help you remember science facts. An example is the acronym HOLMES, which stands for the Great Lakes, Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, and Superior. Mnemonics are very helpful in learning anatomy terms. Using the substitution method, you could replace an abstract anatomy term such as sacrum with a more visual image of someone carrying a sack of rum over their lower back, and imagine a bone sticking out of the sack. Spelling seems to be a subject many people have difficulty with. In fact, a survey shows that only 2 out of 10 college students can spell a list of 10 words correctly. By following the mnemonic links for spelling, you could be one of those 2 students. We will discuss 8 basic mnemonic links which will help you remember commonly misspelled words. We will begin with the built-in word link. This method uses easy-to-spell words, which are in more difficult words, to provide clues. Here's one example. You hear H-E-A-R with your ear. The E-A-R in ear is used to remember the E-A-R in hear. The definitional link uses the definition of the word to give clues in its spelling. For example, a beech, B-E-E-C-H, is a tree, T-R-E-E. This is similar to the built-in word link, only it includes a definition. A third method is the analogous pattern link. By making an analogy with words, this link reminds you whether a tough word is really one word or 2. Here is an example using all together, which is a commonly misspelled word. We will go all together or all separately. The story sentence link is the fourth method. This link takes difficult, irregular words and turns them into a story. Story sentence links tell a story which will state spelling problems in a way you will remember them. Here is an example to remember that skiing is spelled with two I's. Use both I's when skiing. The fifth method is the acronym link. For example, to remember how to spell arithmetic, you could remember the sentence, "A rat in the house might eat the ice cream." The first letter of each word in the sentence together spell arithmetic. Another method used in spelling links is the pronunciation link. In order to remember the spellings of words, you pronounce them as they are spelled, not how they should be pronounced. To remember how to spell Wednesday, you could pronounce it Wednesday. The etymological link is another method. This mnemonic technique uses one form of a word in order to clarify the spelling of another. An example of this would be, if you have muscles, you're muscular. Last but not least is the descriptive link. This method describes the problem in a way which you will remember, such as, there is no X in ecstasy. You can use these 8 rules to form your own mnemonic tricks for words that you find difficult to spell. A simple mnemonics technique of word substitution is helpful in mastering difficult vocabulary words. Substitute the difficult vocabulary word with a homophone, and then link that word to the meaning of the vocabulary by creating a visual image in your mind. For example, if you were trying to remember that the caret, C-A-R-E-T, is a wedged-shaped mark used by editors to indicate a place where a word is to be inserted, you might picture yourself marking a piece of paper with a caret, C-A-R-R-O-T. Mnemonics can also be helpful in reading literature. Literature is different from an average textbook. In your textbook, the thoughts are organized into main points followed by supporting facts and details, which makes it easy to take mental notes because the ideas flow naturally. Literature is not necessarily organized in this manner, so it requires a different method when taking mental notes. You can use mnemonics in literature to remember details about main characters or symbolic references. Relate a character's name to his or her personality. For example, the character Pearl in Nathaniel Hawthorne's novel The Scarlet Letter is pure and untouched, yet she is not perfect, just as a pearl found in the ocean floor is pure and untouched by the world, but is not perfectly round. You can also link characteristics to a character's name using homophones in the link system. This will allow you to be able to recall any information you might need on a test. Geography can be a difficult subject for students of all ages. Many of us, adults as well as children, have problems remembering the names of all 50 states as well as their locations. Mnemonics makes it very easy by using a simple link with word substitution. By linking the states geographically, not only will you have all 50 states memorized, but their locations as well. Start with California, using a miner from the gold rush as its symbol. Link the miner to Oregon. Perhaps the miner digs in the side of a mountain of ore. He then washes the ore, representing Washington. Continue with this story and soon you will have all 50 states and their locations memorized. By following the basic rules of visualization, word substitution, and linking, geography can become your best subject. Although subjects that a college student pursues will be more complex and specialized, it is very easy to apply these mnemonic ideas in much the same way. Just use a little imagination. A medical student might use the linking system to memorize all of the bones in the human body. And a law student could use the LOCI system to memorize landmark cases and decision that came from each case. This program has provided you with the necessary mnemonic devices. Now it's your turn to use these ideas and apply them to your studies. Mnemonics is also a wonderful way to teach children. Teaching your children how to use mnemonics will increase their imaginations and powers of concentration. And since these methods are fun to use, your children will find that learning is an enjoyable activity. Use games to teach your children the fundamentals of mnemonics. On car trips, teach the link system by seeing who can remember the longest list of objects. You'll have to show them how to link at first, but soon it will come naturally. Once your child is acquainted with the link system, he will be able to transfer the technique to schoolwork. Use the PEG system to help them memorize a list of objects in order. Use 10 PEG words that rhyme with numbers 1 through 10, then link the object to the rhyming word. These games will help your child understand the PEG system, and they can be useful for such things as memorizing the first 5 presidents of the United States. Use the methods we discussed earlier to help your children learn vocabulary and spelling words. You may have to show them how to apply mnemonics at first, but eventually your children will learn to apply them on their own. If you don't have the program Super Memory for Super Children, you can contact the Advanced Learning Memory Institute to order it. It is designed for parents and includes 1 book and 2 cassette tapes. Call toll-free 1-800-829-6240. Mnemonics can be used by students of all ages, but the sooner a student learns to use mnemonics, the sooner he will benefit from it. By using mnemonics, you can study less, remember more, and above all, you can improve your grades. Besides, mnemonics make learning fun.